Hold on, folks. Hold on. So when young Dukes always gets here very early, dangerously early. But I respect it. He's a young lion, and he gets there early and cleans the mat and all that good stuff. And I always try to give him some form of entertainment via one of our great videos, So what I did was I played Dukes this video. But I didn't just play him that video. I played him that video on loop with the cult of personality playing over the top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I forgot to remove the loop element. So for a minute there, we could have just been listening to Fleet Week, just sort of the logo flashing itself over and over again, which wasn't my intention. I apologize for anyone that was offended. Nonetheless, Fleet Week is here. I see many people in the chat already. We appreciate you guys. A one-off time slot for us this week. We had to reschedule some things. The boys are getting a little big time, we're being frank. But nonetheless, Tope Suicida, you did have a doctor's note. How are you feeling today, my friend?
I'm feeling fantastic. I'm ready to Fleet Week.
Yeah,
nice.
To fleet it up.
Yeah,
fleet it up, right? Woo! Young Dukes, there's much going on. Backdrop, hair, letting alone the escalator incident that we kind of left behind. Like, what's happening, Dukes? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I didn't really get a new backdrop. I just moved my camera to the side.
Yeah, but you have to. I mean, it's a new world for those of us watching at home. It's a different thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I haven't gotten my stuff in the back yet. Eventually, I'm gonna have a whole new setup. But
is the cone so you don't trip and fall?
Yeah.
See, it's interesting because that feels like it would make it more like you would trip and fall in many ways.
Yeah, I mean.
Wait a second. We are saying that, Brent, but I'm intrigued by this hair coward. How do you feel about that allegation?
I don't know what that means.
I don't either, but it sounds right. It looks accurate to me. Tope, would you agree with that? Would you say Dukes is a hair coward?
100%.
Yeah, factual. Fair. All right. Okay, folks, we have a lot to talk about. Some of it is going to be, you've heard all the podcasts to talk about, but none of them have a vibrator.
True.
Facts.
Right?
Well, now, I mean, some of them probably do. But...
Well, yeah. No comment.
Yeah, we don't like to assume anything. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, we'll talk through last week's TV, and I think it probably makes sense this week to do a little more kind of preview action for tomorrow night's show on Friday, and we'll split a little more evenly this week. I think the most logical way to kick us off here, and to be clear, for those of you that are big fans of future ace Chris, he will be here shortly. Hold tight, please do not leave. Dukes and Tope will try their best in the meantime.
I got more votes than Chris.
You did. Now you did a hell of a job. I never said any of you were bad. I just said, some of you need to work on some things. Dynamite had 3 critically acclaimed matches. 3 matches that got a lot of buzz online in terms of quality, and also got a lot of buzz in the buildings. They got the place rocking. I think the most logical way to talk about this before we do the vibrator itself is, what was your favorite match on last week's Dynamite? Dukes, we'll start with you.
I think it's pretty obvious.
Yes,
the opening match, Hangman and Mox.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty. I was easily, in the sense that that's one I cared about the most.
Yes,
but the other 2 were also great.
So this was, to me, the most interesting match in terms of result, right? And we kind of talked about this, like where they were going to go, and we kicked around a bunch of different options. And I know that at certain points you said Hangman's going to beat him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought there's a chance Hangman would win. Also, I must admit, I was kind of stunned by just how conclusively he beat him. I thought we were going to get there, but doing it there in the opening match from Dynamite kind of caught me off guard. Tope, was you surprised by again, not so much the result, but the method of victory almost, the way it was portrayed? Was you surprised by that all?
Yeah, I mean, it's Moxley's second clean loss
in
a singles match in AEW, which is absolutely crazy to think about. But yeah, I was with Dukes. I thought Hangman was gonna win, but I did not expect it to be that definitive.
Mm-hmm. Now, the interesting thing with Hangman is he's had a really a unique last year, it's fair to say, right? To put it mildly. A year ago, he was the champ. He kind of felt somewhat in the background after the Bryan feud, which is where about what would be at this point a year ago. The Punk feud, which we'll leave that there, kind of a flat summer, but he had the great trios final, and now Moxley appears to have made a real effort to kind of reestablish him in the main event picture. The thing that stood out for me here was this was a big time performance in terms of reminding the audience of what Hangman's capable of in ring, right? I mean, he looked great against Moxley in their last match, but he'd been out of the ring for 3 months, probably, right around that.
Yeah.
And he hadn't missed a beat. Dukes, is that as a big Hangman supporter kind of the thing to hang your hat on, so to speak, in terms of like, look, we can critique the book in 101 times, and the character will always be a little bit divisive the way they portray it.
Yeah.
But when the bell rings, Hangman's pretty much undeniable, right?
100%. Yeah. He's my favorite wrestler, obviously, but I genuinely think he's like one of the best wrestlers on the roster.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I'd like to kind of one day when it's a real quiet week, we should try and come up with like a list best we can, you know, like in ring only. Like Tope, just on instinct, where would you kind of position Hangman off the top of your head, like roughly, you know?
Anywhere from 3 to 8.
I
know that's very broad, but
no, I like that. I appreciate that you put numbers on it. I thought you were going to say something about vibes was my concern, but I appreciate it, bro. Thank you. We'll explore that one day. Now, do we think Moxley is finally going to take this vacation that we've all been talking about for the last 14 years or whatever it's been now?
No.
No. He's going to come out next week.
They're wrestling at the pay-per-view again.
Okay, so if they're wrestling at the pay, he still could have like 3 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Month.
You can go fishing. Yeah.
A couple fishing trips.
Do we all agree the match is happening again at the pay-per-view? Because that kind of feels like a lot to me.
I think so. Texas Death Match.
Texas Dev match. Tope, what do you think stipulation-wise? Are you thinking Texas Dev 2 or Lights Out or something? What are we thinking?
I think Texas makes sense.
Yeah, I think now that match is finished becomes like really interesting because, again, the end game to me, kind of in my head, was like, well, Hangman's going to get the big win eventually. Now you wonder where we'll end up at the end of this. Like, is the Moxley heel turn that we've all kind of alluded to and fantasy booked at times in the last 6 months, does that come into play? That could certainly make sense considering what we just did here. It'll be interesting. The one big thing for me, and Dukes, I'm intrigued by your take on this, him being your fave and such. Mm-hmm. I hope they don't overplay like Hangman's guilt for knocking Mox out,
Yeah, I feel like they
probably will, but
they'll lean into it, yeah.
It's hard because I'm torn on this one because I do think that's like a compelling story. And honestly, in another situation, I'd actually be for it because it's kind of, it's a real thing. Like, there are prize fighters that have seriously hurt their opponent and mentally suffered because of it, not been the same fighter afterwards. The only problem with Hangman is it feels like he's so often in like an emotional, like wreck.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. And it's like, and I appreciate that. I don't want everyone to just be like this sort of cut and dry ass kicker, but he's been doing it for so long. It's like, I now want him to just be a guy who goes out and whacks people. I've had enough of it. So I don't know. I'm torn on it.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Tope, what do you think? You in on the potential law regarding violently knocking people out?
If there's one thing Tope Suicida loves, it is lore.
Factual.
That's true.
Speaking of such, you can tune in tonight at 8 Eastern, Tope's new show, Getting Howdy with Tope Suicida.
Good Lord.
where he dives into the latest and greatest in the world of Uncle Howdy. Right, Tope, is that the official promotion material for that?
Yep.
Yeah. I call it Getting Lousy.
Wow. You fucking owned him before the debut. That's crazy. You might have to cancel that show now, Tope. That's kind of wild.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Tope, what was your favorite match on Dynamite?
So my favorite, this is kind of an absurd thing, but my favorite match featured the American Dragon, obviously, but I was most entertained by the opener. I enjoyed that the most, if that makes sense.
Oh, I understand that completely. Yeah. Especially because it was like different in terms of stakes, right? Like you enjoyed the Danielson match on a more kind of mechanic level. Yeah, like you enjoy the kind of the actual wrestling, whereas with Moxley and Hangman, there was a certain emotion to it. I'm with you absolutely. Let's talk about Bryan and Takeshita. Obviously, this match being good is like the least surprising thing ever.
Yeah.
I will say though, and I only fully appreciate it on the second watch because the first watch I was like coming out of the MJF lull. which is a real thing, and I'm sure the vibrator will indicate that was the thing that I think a lot of us felt.
Factual.
This match was incredible, man.
Yeah.
I didn't like watching it live. I knew it was really good, great even, but like this match was fucking spectacular. Takeshita always hits hard. How about you fellas? This is about as hard as I've seen him hitting an AEW ring. He was clobbering Brian, and I think Brian was certainly feeling it. Man, this was a great time. The question, I guess, would be, Dukes, is it now like kind of redundant to say it's time to give Takeshita the big push, or is it like because this, I have no problem with this, honestly. Like, I can watch him wrestle these matches forever, but fuck, man, it feels like it's about time that he starts kicking people's ass, right?
Yeah, he should start winning. I feel like this is like the good final loss before he gets on track. And Joe, I don't know if you watched Dark Elevation last night.
I did.
There was the backstage promo with Don Callis. Don gave him like his card or whatever. He was like, call me. So we might be cooking.
It's one of those things where I wouldn't let it play out and see what they do with it. Because obviously Don is a good manager, and Takeshita's talent isn't a question. I do think it could be a slightly odd fit, but I need to see what it looks like first before quickly on that point. Tope, did you see Dark Elevation?
Absolutely not.
Just quickly, because this needs to be brought up. I've got a review on the Grin tomorrow, but we'll talk about it a little here. Willie Mack and Brian Cage had like a bonkers monster truck match.
Yeah.
Now, folks, you hear me sometimes get into the detail of selling and all that nerdy shit no one cares about. These two fellas, I think they went about 6 minutes. They did 3 double downs, 3 points within the 6-minute match. They just did a big move and just both fucking lied there while the place came up. It was an insane experience for the C show. And the crowd knew Willie, and they were kind of with him at the start. And then once he started wrestling, it was like people were pumping their fists. And I think Willie may be sticking around based on that performance, is what I'm suggesting.
I think he's probably an ROH guy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind him on Dynamite, but
yeah. The only thing I'd say about that is he's another one of those guys who I kind of go, I think if he comes in, he probably will be Ring of Honor, because there's so many guys already established in AEW. But in a weird way, I legit think he's a better fit for big crowds and national TV than guys that have been in front of them for a while. That dude's magnetic, right? He has a real charisma.
He does a little kip up, and he does the arm thing.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's so good.
There's a charm to him. And it's again, I know how weird that sounds, because he's never been really in the US. He's not had a big TV run in front of big live crowds by any means. So, but watching him in that sense, he could easily do this. I just did a tweet. I don't know if you guys are on their Snap. I did a tweet. I want to see him wrestle Samoa Joe, the former king of television. I don't talk about him a lot on here.
He's the king of Honor Club now.
Well, yeah, true. The king of streaming services. The king of digital media, and Scott Moore gets really mad. Yeah. All right. Fair enough. Back to this Brian Takeshita business. Tope, what do you think the chances are that in around 6 weeks we are tired of Brian having awesome fucking matches? Because from my vantage point, I think it may be the opposite, where the only issue I have with it is the promo that precedes the awesome fucking match. Because this feels like so refreshing after Brian fought the Jericho Appreciation Site forever. It's reminding me of those early days, Tope Suicida. You know what I mean? Brian just comes out and just whacks people and has great matches for 20 minutes. Where do you stand in terms of your excitement for this sort of return to pure bangers from Bryan Danielson?
For me personally, I'll give it a 0% chance that I'll be getting tired. Oh my god!
Big man is back.
He's got the shirt on.
He's got the American Dragon shirt on too. There it is.
Wow.
Tremendous.
Danielson is the guy that got me into wrestling, so I will never tire from the American Dragon.
Are you saying you're not a fake fan? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no comment on that, but
yeah, because you did take the letters out of your name once, right?
Head of the curve, brother.
Certainly was. Tell me that. Chris, how are you today?
A little out of breath. But it's fun. I guess I was wearing this under my hoodie. I don't know. That's the only way I wear wrestling shirts out, to be honest.
Fair. That's what I'm doing.
True.
I was impressed. So yesterday, folks, just pull back the curtain here. I was headed into the cinema, which I often talk about around here. And I said, I'm going to let the lads figure this out. So I just messaged them and said, boys, come together, get yourself a time. We'll try and make it work. So I leave them to their own devices. They could be trusted to have a nice opening match. I headed off. I come out of the cinema after my big double feature, and there I see it. I see an incredible update. There has been aggression from both sides. There is, at one point, it was demanded that I believe attendance was mandatory at one point, which was interesting. But you got here, and Chris, I think you kind of conceded and you was going to run home. Correct? Is this what happened?
Yeah, I'm a team player. I can't confirm whether or not I was running, but I did come from class like 13 minutes ago. I was in class, so it's just we're here. It's fine.
It was
How was
slow
class?
40 time.
Was class good, Chris?
It
Or was
was,
this hanging on your mind?
I was thinking about Bryan Danielson. I was thinking about Takeshita. I was thinking about MJF.
Oh well, that's
Well,
unfortunate.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. All right. Well, at least you got an excuse, I suppose. Chris, do you have anything you'd like to add before you got here? We were talking about Hangman and Moxley. Anything to add on that match, which we all very much enjoyed? What did you think?
It ruled.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that about it. Was you surprised by the emphatic finish with Hangman going over clean?
I wasn't surprised, but I also wasn't surprised that it seems like running a CTE angle.
So the CTE angle is incredible phrasing, but yes, that appears what's happening. Anything on Bryan and Takeshita, Chris, before we get to the other match from the other big match, let's say, from Wednesday?
It ruled.
Factual. Okay, let's look now to Game 7. The deciding game here of the trios best of 7 gimmick. The Elite take it, which I believe was that the consensus around here? I forget. We did so many predictions.
Well, no, Tope thought they were going to lose.
I said Death Triangle would sweep, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we said they couldn't help themselves from doing the
They can't.
3-1 thing.
Yeah.
I called it the second.
Dukes called it, yeah.
The best
Literally the second that they said best of 7, Dukes was like 3-1 lead. They're coming back.
That's right, because we questioned if they were like too self-aware to do it. And it's like, no, they're just enough.
Yeah.
Just enough to actually do it.
Because we were like, they won't do 3-0.
Yeah.
They'll do 3-1 though.
Mm-hmm. What did you guys make of the match? Dukes, I'll start with you. What did you think of the ladder match to close the series?
I thought it was awesome. I think there's actually like a better version of this match with more time available.
Yeah.
Barring a Chris Jericho segment earlier in the show. But like for like the 15 minutes they had, it was fucking awesome.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at. It's like, it sounds insane to say they could do better.
They can.
Considering what they did, but they absolutely can.
Yeah.
Like the ceiling for these 6 guys in a ladder match is like the most extraordinary ladder match ever produced.
Mm-hmm.
And they fell slightly short of that. So they could probably do better, but it was still a great time. Tope, what did you make of the final part of the series?
I was the low man of the 3 of us, but it was mainly due to like timing and all that. There were a bunch of spots that popped me, but I don't know. I didn't really connect. Like we all kind of knew what was going to happen too. There was the one spot where I forget who was climbing the ladder, but Pac had the hammer, and instead of just braining him in the back of the head, he lightly tapped the fingers.
It was
cost
Kenny.
He was cost him the series.
Yeah. Kenny, because earlier on he did the thing with Kenny where like Kenny had his hand in between the ladder and he stomped on it. So he like took out both his hands. But yes, he probably should have hit him in the head.
Yeah, back of the head with the hammer.
They're already doing a CTE angle.
Yeah, true.
Spine.
That's good agenting, brother. Got to spread your ideas around the show. No, it was the one thing I will say for it was, and this is not a criticism of the guys who killed it, because of course they did, but I don't think it had like as much gravity and importance as you feel like it could have had, considering they dedicated so much time to it. That's part of the way they present their show, and we've talked about this for years now. But it's like they do move very quickly, and Wednesday you could tell Tony had packed it full, and it's like sometimes that is going to result in things not having the importance they should. The issue on this particular occasion was, as Duke's kind of as all of us have alluded to through the wit and the vibrator we'll get into, there was some segments that could have easily been shaved, right? And that's why it's kind of frustrating, I think. But nonetheless, Chris, what did you make of the main event at Dynamite?
Yeah, I would agree. I think the importance of it was a little lost at some points. I thought it was a good match though. I had a lot of fun with it. I thought the Kenny dive to the outside through the table and then Pac stumbling into the other spot with Matt. I thought that was fun. I thought that was creative.
Awesome. Yep.
But yeah, Kenny taking a little long to get up the ladder at the end was kind of funny to me. There was a point when he got up where I was like, I told Duke just, I was like, I genuinely a thought passed through my mind of like, oh, Phil's gonna cost him. Phil's coming out, and but no, I had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was good.
I was gonna ask you guys to grade it on like F to A or 1 to 10, but I can't do that. So I'll just using the vibrator metric system. What would you give this series as a whole? Dukes first. What would you give it on the vibrator system?
Good vibes.
Wow. Good vibes, Chris. Nod of the head there, if you agree.
Firm good vibes, I think.
Okay, Tope, where do you stand?
I'm probably between pops and good vibes, but close to good vibes.
Wow. No top grade for the best of 7, huh?
Not as a whole.
Why is it the concept more than anything else? Is it too much of the same matchup for you guys?
Yeah, I also think that there was the third match was like, some of the matches just kind of felt like they happened. Yeah. Like the first hardcore match was like okay. The second one, the Christmas one, was fucking awesome. But
I do wonder also if this is a case of like because you're all young and you're used to wrestling being good, you're not aware of like what these series usually look like. Because let me tell you, there's been some best of 7s in the history of the industry that scale you've getting a lot of pop but bad. That one they'll be coming up a few times, but nonetheless, I enjoyed it very, very much. I thought what they did was excellent. I definitely am ready for everyone to move on, but I don't think that's an indictment so much. It's just that's the way it should be right after seven matches. But it was interesting to see the different debates about it. I thought it was very, very good, but there was a lot of people that fucking hated it. I'm shoot. So, nonetheless, we need to talk about this, folks. I'm sorry, but we do need to talk about it. No Mercedes Moné. Moné.
Monet.
Mooney?
Moné.
No, Monet.
Moné. Tope, you got it?
What is it?
Monet.
Money. Kind of like money. I think that's what they're going for.
Monet.
There's no Y.
That's what the thing over the E is.
Yeah, that's what that's for.
That's what I have.
It's factual. How big a deal is this in terms of it not happening? Like, was this a big blow in terms of perception? Was this a disappointment for you as a fan? Or do you not care at all? Tope Suicida, I will start with you.
So it could have been an all-time 24 hours for perception if the Saudi deal happened and then Monet showed up the next night.
Yeah.
And neither of those things have happened. So, like, for me personally, like, I got to the point that by showtime I wasn't really expecting it, so it didn't hurt me that much. But it definitely doesn't look great that she isn't coming in.
Yeah, the boss line is perhaps the most puzzling piece of this, right? Chris, what did you make of this Monet business?
Yeah, the boss lines, like when we were talking about this and what the odds were at the end, like before the show in the Discord, we were kind of talking about it. That was Brett and I were saying like it didn't that day. It didn't like. I mean, again, for lack of a better word, like the vibe, it didn't feel like she was coming in. But the fact that you would go back and like, oh yeah, but Britt said the boss, so like that's what kept me coming back was that one line. So I think that was the most egregious of the expectations part of that. But yeah, I mean, is it a bad look? Yeah, because they promoted it like a month out and then they only really said she wasn't coming in last week. Now, if that's their fault or not, whatever happened, we don't know for sure. But yeah, it's a bad look for the segments that they had last week.
Dukes, where do you stand on Monet?
Yeah, I'm upset she didn't come in because I think she's a good wrestler. Although I did pivot for a little while and say she was actually bad. She was never good. But I snapped myself out of it. I had to do the bit at least once. But yeah, it sucks. I mean, I'm not gonna really care in like 2 more weeks. So
It's one of the things with this too is it's like the there's no real polite way of saying this. I didn't mind the match they did, but like There's no way that was the original intention, right? Like, it's not like they give you like a backup plan that you kind of went, well, that was worth a month's build. Like, the match was it was just nothing almost.
It was fine, yeah.
Yeah, like, not even that the work was bad. It was just, it had no like oomph at all.
It didn't warrant a 1 month announcement.
No, it did not. Yeah, it's a weird situation. My kind of read on it is like, if you watch the show, you will quickly move on because, it wasn't saying they teased it, but not to like an extreme level. I think this was a blow though for like those fans that are on that kind of fence of whether they want to tune into AEW or not, right? The ones that you may have lost as of late that came in briefly there for a stretch. I think Mercedes was a real, a real opportunity to win those fans back or get new fans, more importantly, perhaps. And it was, a signal that like they're still in the hunt and kind of a big time contention for top stars because she's a major star. She probably would have been their biggest name upon arrival. So on that front, it's like more of a missed opportunity than it is a loss, right? So I think if you watch the show, it's like, but if you were trying to kind of regain that momentum commercially, she would have been a real quick kind of shortcut on that front. And more importantly, more specifically, I should say, the women's division would benefit greatly, obviously, from having a star of that caliber. I mean, that would be transformative for the division. So it's definitely disappointing, and it's a missed opportunity. How feasible it was, I'm not convinced. I think Tony may have got real carried away here, based on my limited understanding of the situation. I think he may have really misread all parts of this. We'll probably know soon enough, I think. But nonetheless, anything on the actual match itself before we move on, because I don't want to disrespect the form they actually had to wrestle a match for. Everyone talked about Mercedes Moné, but anything like in particular on it, Dukes?
Jamie Hayter.
Well, there is a problem with Jamie Hayter, though. Have you heard about the problem? I know, it shocked me too. So, look, we all love Jamie Hayter, right? We're all big believers. She's British too. I have to do this, unfortunately. I would do it with anyone else I have to. There has been an unfortunate trend. Jamie has recently been chopping fans at wrestling signings, which I'm for. I'm for hitting fans. I want to make it clear. However, I have noticed an alarming trend. And I have to say it. I'm sorry. It does not appear as of yet that she is hurting these fans with these chops. They appear to be taking them and kind of laughing, high-fiving.
It's killing the business.
Look, I'm not trying, it is what it is. Business has changed that stuff. If you're going to chop one of these fucking dudes, Jamie, you need to bring that fucker to his knees. You know what I mean? You need to fucking whack him. I mean, you need to hit him so hard he falls backwards and then drops to his damn knees. I'm sorry. You have to. Yes, Tope, you can.
If I'm in front of Jamie Hayter, there's no way in hell I'm selling it, even if it's the hardest chop of all time.
Tope, she shouldn't give you a choice. You know what I'm saying? Jamie, listen, fucking whack him, all right? Whoever it is, I don't care. It could be a little kid for all I care. Whack him. Hard as you can. To make it clear. But nonetheless, yeah, she's very good. Very, very good. Saraya, where do we stand? Interesting.
She was good when she was in the ring with Jamie.
She was. Less good with
her and Britt have like negative chemistry.
Pattern.
I think she got pretty tired in there too, which is understandable, but it looked pretty visible to me.
It's her house,
Yeah, nothing wrong with it. I mean, I get tired in my house all the time. Okay, there you go, folks. Let's head to the big segment, the famed vibrator segment. We'll lead into it with this video. Fabulous. Beautiful stuff. All right, here we go. We get underway with initial good vibes here. Straight to, my God, what does that say? Mox Hang Bang?
Yes.
Mox Hang Bang, is that saying?
Yes.
What kind of shows that you fellas are producing around here?
The vibrator.
Fair. What a start we have here. Impeccable vibes for the opener. I'm looking at this fucking titling. You know what, Tope? This is your handiwork, isn't it? All of this freight. Well, I'm looking here.
The Salmon jacket was actually Duke's. I'll give him credit for that. I think pretty much everything else was me.
Whose was WrestleMania 3 but 2023? Because that was the one that immediately captured the imagination. Okay, just beautiful work. All right, now we haven't had a chance about Jungle Hook. We see the great image here in the center of our screen. this is money, boys. We kind of knew it, right? But seeing it in action, seeing the YouTube views fly in, I don't know, fellas. Might be time to change up the territory a little bit. You know what I mean?
We're rocking.
Mm-hmm.
We're on fire.
Top heel, Big Bill.
He was that bump he took was legit awesome, though, right?
Yeah.
What a
He
tremendous.
rolled out of the ring and got all mad.
And he
Place, dude, the way the place went up for that face off,
Oh man,
dude. I'm like Hook's great, but fucking Big Bill, hats off to him. Made him look like a star.
I do have some news too when it comes to the Jungle Hook world. Double J, Jeff Jarrett, has a podcast. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's called My World.
I'm familiar.
He was talking about the famed wrestling announcer and big Joe Holbert fan Taz. And he was putting Taz over and he goes, but his son, he needs the taste slapped out of his mouth. And I was walking and I stopped mid step. I stopped and like took a big deep breath because I realized what that meant.
Oh my.
I think we're absolutely getting that program, and it could even be, dare I say, a thing they put on pay-per-view because Tony is a sicko. Let me tell you something, folks. You just see what that YouTube viewership looks like when Jeff Jarrett and Hook share the thumbnail. You know what I mean? Just wait. That's going to be real graps right there. So,
can I call the biggest spot on the pay-per-view then?
Yes, absolutely.
Because it's when Hook no-sells the guitar shot.
100%, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the thing that's funny is like Jeff and Jack will do like good wrestling things, but who could possibly care when they do that spot? It's going to be irrelevant, right? That's the money spot. Absolutely.
Hook's can try and suplex Satnam.
Oh my
god! You could fucking decapitate the poor guy, man. That could be very dangerous. They should do it. Sounds great. This is awesome. All right, beautiful. We do have to just sort of slow our roll a bit, humble ourselves a little bit here. Paul Walter Hausen, correct? Who is the star of what television show? Remind me.
I have no idea.
The Richard Jewell one. Or if that's a movie, I don't know if it's a movie or a TV show, but
he's a good supporting actor.
He's a big fan of All Elite Wrestling. He had an interview. You fellas have locked this in here in between pops and good vibes. Is it fair to say this benefited from the great lead-in?
Yes.
Okay.
Hold on. It also, I mean, if we were talking about Rampage too, I feel like this would be way higher than it is.
Yes,
correct.
But I feel like that's worth noting.
He was awesome in that segment. This was just kind of awkward, right? This was like the way this was set up was very strange. Oh dear, here we go, folks. I know what you're thinking. You're settling into your Tuesday afternoon. You're thinking I could do with some more MJF discourse in my life.
God.
Well, here we go. The Scooby Dooby douchebag here popping in at mid, fittingly. MJF's big in-ring promo, it has caused great debate. One of the funny things about this discourse has been that it's something that we've actively talked about on the Grim for like a year. And it's popped me that people have there are genuinely people that watch wrestling every week. They've only recently been like, man, Max's content sometimes is kind of lowbrow, huh? It's like,
and repetitive. And it's like every week.
It's kind of wild. This is well, yeah, it's kind of wild. This is no reason to become a topic. I get the sense we're all on the same page with this. We're not a big fan right now. Fair to say?
The whole like lead into the next match was like, it felt so backwards. Like I feel like MJF should have done the celebrity stuff first. Then Takeshita comes out. He says whatever. Takeshita says, "Kick my ass." And before MJF can make him leave the ring like a little bitch. Then Bryan comes out and the match starts and Max runs away.
Yes.
It just felt so in the wrong order.
You're absolutely correct. I didn't even think about that part of it, which is like, even beyond the content, which was obviously bad, the way it was laid out was wrong. You were right. Like they did the thing with Takeshita and then he just did like stand up for a bit. It was bizarre.
He was like, get out of the ring.
With Takeshita just sitting out there for like 10 minutes waiting, right? Because he gets the line in and then Max just cuts his balls off and then just like,
it took the edge off the match. I think Max, he's obviously aware, he's a smart enough guy to know like everyone's criticism, but he's not like oblivious. He doesn't think he's like breaking the mold with this stuff. He feels it's a necessary evil to get where he wants to get as a heel right now. We could debate that forever. I think there's clearly a point he shouldn't pass, a line he shouldn't cross. I think some of the talk this week about like it's real heat, bro, is fucking insane. Like, look at the audience for AEW Dynamite, man. None of us want that heat, you know? Like, it sucks. It's just bad. So, there's a way to get heat. He's very capable of it. He's done it a million times before. This wasn't it. I think that's the best way to sum it up, right, boys? I mean, anyone got anything to add on that? Because I don't want to dwell on it too much, but that's where
I
stood on it.
agree. And him doing it this week and then Bandito being the opponent next week, I don't want to watch it. Almost like, not the show. I'm going to watch the show, obviously, but I'm going to mute my TV probably.
Hopefully they can kind of course correct on that because it just isn't necessary. All right. Hour 2. We fly back up here to Impeccable Vibes. One has to ask, boys, based on your usual approach or your usual method, like how high would Brian and Takeshita, how high would it grade if it had a better lead in? Would you have to create a new part of the scale? I mean, that's pretty wild. They achieved that. They went from mid to Impeccable Vibes, boys. That's kind of nuts.
I mean, listen, if anyone's going to drag a segment from mid to Impeccable Vibes, it's the American Dragon. And when he's in there, with Takeshita, it was kind of like it was set in stone.
I do want to ask though, like, to be clear, I didn't misread that right. Now, hour 2 is still connected to hour 1, or does the momentum not exist from the hour to hour crossover? This is very important.
It's connected.
It's connected, yeah.
It's connected. Okay, so it was very okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, boys. Rock Hard TNT Challenge. Very high grade for this. Look at this.
I would have this.
It was short.
This was momentum.
Okay, good.
It wasn't like long enough to,
No, you're right. I actually agree. It was fun. He has a funny voice too, which is important.
Factual.
Back up to good vibes for the bank is closed.
Yeah, this is just the match.
This is the Jamie Hayter is minimum good vibes rated.
Factual.
Yeah.
I respect that.
Her and Tony Storm should wrestle forever.
Correct.
True.
We have a difficult section coming up here. We learn why managing expectations is important.
Yeah.
Which comes in at Pop, but bad. And it's interesting you say it because that was the absolute definition of that grade was the Mercedes thing, right? Like,
yeah,
Pop,
especially with
bad.
The clip on Twitter of like they turned the lights off.
Oh, that was a word.
And then played the Rampage graphic, and everyone got really mad.
Yeah.
That was
so stupid, so dumb.
Yeah, there was someone on Twitter who was like, actually, it was because they showed a graphic, and people people were booing the House of Black going to wrestle because they're heels.
They were not.
House of
Black get like roaring ovations every time they're on TV.
No, I think what was it? They was like, because I think they played a King promo right after that. I think that's what it was. They were saying they were booing because there was dissension between Eddie Kingston and Ortiz.
No fuck yeah, get the fuck out of here.
People are
so
nuts,
sad.
Man.
The video was so sad. The collective it was painful.
Yeah, it was quite the deal. And then we plummet further with the tough outing, tough night at the office for all involved. The JAS segment alongside Ricky Starks, opposite Ricky Starks, an action injury. Setting up a match that had already been booked, which makes it worse, I feel. This comes in at bad vibes, which is something we don't see that often on this program, right, boys? Fair to say? You fellas are pretty positive, but bad vibes, that's tough. Not even Pop, but bad. Just straight up bad vibes. Where are we at in terms of excitement for this feud as of right now?
It can just end, I think.
We can skip over this.
The thing that's crazy is it's not long into it at all.
No. But this was just so unnecessary and furthered absolutely nothing. Yeah. And also took away time from the main event, which I was thinking about the whole time. I'm like, all right, it's 9:45. Can we get going, please?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd said it to Matt. I was kind of embarrassed by how much that annoyed me. I didn't want to get into it on the show because we were doing Grin Along, but I was actively frustrated by the time they were wasting away. It was fuck, man. It was rough. And then, of course, back up to good vibes for the main event. With a shot there of LeBron. Beautiful work, Tope, on the visual aid. Great stuff. We discussed the main event in pretty good length. But a good way to close the show, and let's be real, a positive that was needed after that little stretch there in the middle, right? So, a very good show. I will say I was a little surprised to see that Cage Match had it as the third best Dynamite ever or something like that. But I guess
the matches were
the matches.
they don't rate segments.
Yeah, cage match, Okay, let's do a little segment here on Rampage. Then we'll look ahead to next week briefly before we wrap up another Fleet Week. Street Fight. That was the big headline from Rampage, right? Ruby Soho bled everywhere. Felt like
Nerds
a
got
big
really
moment.
mad.
Well, yeah, of course. It felt like a really big moment for Ruby. It felt like kind of a signature moment in AEW, at least. Honestly, which I guess by kind of default means a signature moment in her career, right? Like it was a big spot for her. I thought it was a hoot. I've seen some mixed reviews, but mostly like the response from people with brains was very positive.
Yes.
Tope, what did you think?
It had everything that I want in TV.
My God, in TV. Oh my God.
Everything.
Yeah. It's like Sopranos, The Wire, Ty J, Ruby and Willow. Yep. All right. I respect that. Very, very dangerous show to walk, so I'm just going to leave it without any kind of follow-up. Chris, what did you think of the Rampage main event?
Yeah, it was fun. Ruby's awesome. Those visuals were great. I don't care what anybody says.
Perfect.
You can't do that. No. Flag on the fly. You cannot do that after your prior comment, so you have to sit it out for a moment. That's not fair. Not fair at all.
Yeah, it was good. There's been some accusations that a few people in the match are Street Fight merchants that I can't confirm or deny that I do agree.
There's one. There's one.
Street Fight merchants is incredible.
Only one of them, Chris. Come on.
I won't say who, but yes. I mean, prayers up for that person because they took whoever it is, because they took a pretty nasty bump there, but overall had a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was spiteful and unnecessary, but I feel it was Tope's fault because he lashed out with the pervert comment, and I felt you kind of instinctively had to lash out in your own way. I respect that.
That was coming. That was coming in.
Well, it was coming no matter what.
That was coming your way.
Whoever had opinions on these things, Dukes, what did you think of it?
I thought it fucking ruled. They came out just like the Dudleys, and I popped huge. I don't even like the Dudleys.
Yeah. I was actually quite mad about that because my brother saw it before me. And when they came out, he was like, they're dressed as the Dudleys. And I got like real mad. I was like, go fuck yourself. And they did the get the tables. And I was like, Jesus, he was right. I forgot he'd seen it already. I tried to dunk on him. Lost. Before we move on here, Bill, Bad Company Bill, has resubscribed Prime. He did this 40 minutes ago. I'm very bad at reading the updates. I apologize, my friend. He says, all hail, Bill. Thank you so much, mate. You've been with us now for 7 months, which is 7 too long, if you ask me. But for some reason, you keep coming back. So thank you very much. We appreciate you. Speaking of people that, no matter what happens, just keeps coming back, Eddie Kingston was A again. He's running off another friend. He's getting pinned again. When does it end, Dukes? When does it end for the Mad King, Eddie Kingston?
I don't know, man. The match was really good. Eddie did like the little sit-down spot. That popped me. But, yeah, I don't know.
It's a weird angle, right?
It is.
Match was fun. I thought it was a little like disjointed, but mostly because of like they had to tell this story and they did it in a very, they didn't. No points for subtlety, I guess is what I'm saying.
No.
Julia had a hell of a scream, right?
Factual.
Hell of a scream. She'll be making major motion pictures before long, folks. So I mean, there was things to like here. I'm not sure I stand on the angle. Chris, how do you feel about this Eddie Kingston story?
I'm giving Eddie credit for like doing the best with what he's currently being given. I thought the sit down spot was it was genius. I thought it was awesome. But yeah, I'm upset with how Eddie's last few months have been going. It's not like harming my enjoyment of the show, but it's just something that I wish was better because it's one of my favorite wrestlers. So you get what you get.
I'm the same. Like my AEW enjoyment's been way up, but the Eddie thing feels like something that could really add to my enjoyment of the show, and it's like actively distracting for me because it's kind of like fuck, man. It just feels like he could be in such a because to me it's not even. I don't even need him to be like winning all the time, be world champion. It's just he feels so hamstrung by like his presentation at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Most frustrating is they did the Akiyama match, and he was like, he kind of moved himself away from from the weird thing. Yeah, from being angry all the time. And it's like, now he's just angry again. It's like,
he has to wrestle Kenta now.
Yeah, he just just to wrestle Japanese legends to
Yeah.
break himself out of it.
Yeah.
That is his therapy, I guess. Tope, what did you think of this? And I guess more specifically, where is this going?
He's very mean to his friends, and I
He's
do
kind
not
of a
enjoy
dick,
that.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
he's
don't
kind of a
like
dick.
that. It's kind of mean.
Yeah.
I don't know. Either Ortiz or Santana's gonna join House of Black, I guess. I don't. It's yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, people that watch the Late Night Green, there's one thing they hate. It's folks being mean to their friends. They hate that. Speaking of such, we have a Jack Crosby reference here. Future world champ Eddie Kingston. Those of you that did not see the Late Night Green, Jack and I were getting to yell at each other at one point. Bob looked very uncomfortable. Oracle fell asleep. It was quite the ordeal. I just want to stress that I do like Jack Crosby. I simply think he's wrong. Nonetheless,
Bad
I'm just
cheesesteak
kidding.
takes.
He's bad. All of his takes are bad. He's just a nice fella. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Some people have good takes. Assholes. These are the games we play.
Hey, relax.
Well, Juice Robinson.
Okay.
True.
We're just gonna leave it at that.
I mean, I don't know what to make of it, boys. I mean, I usually I'd ask a question with it, but at this point, I'm just like Juice Robinson.
Yeah, it was a fine match.
Yeah.
2.5.
Finish ruled.
Yeah, the finish was good. It feels like he could have a better match with Darby Allin. Maybe.
Yeah. It wasn't Bennett versus Darby, but it was.
No.
Yeah.
Juice Robinson is no Mike Bennett.
That's kind of crazy that we've ended
that
up
feels
here.
spiteful, but
Yeah.
I think it's like kind of objectively true at this point, and that's kind of insane. For anyone that saw where Juice was at like 4 years ago, it's kind of mind-boggling. That's a real thing that I would agree with. I thought the Bennett match was like considerably better than this.
I also think this is such a weird way to like. I mean, obviously we've seen him before on AEW TV, but this is such a weird way to like reintroduce him. Was just to be like, here, you're in a TNT title match. When like, I think he did like not that he does. I think that he warrants a little more like presentation when he's being brought in. Not that he's like this huge star of a main event level guy that you're bringing in right away, but like make it a big deal that like Juice Robinson's on your show now. Yeah,
I guess the thing would be his style probably. If you're gonna do it right. Like he could probably be given a little bit more extra juice, pun intended. Then Mike Bennett could just go there and wrestle, right? It's
right.
Fine. Yeah, absolutely. I want to make this clear. If Jack Crosby is right and Eddie Kingston becomes world champion, I will actually be right because I said that long before Jack Crosby. He has simply stolen my take so long after I gave the take that I now disagree with him, which is a new one on me. I'm a veteran in the game, but that's a new one. Just want to stress, this is a team effort, boys, everyone. Under no circumstances will Jack Crosby be right. Can we all agree on that as a team?
Factual.
We will simply adjust accordingly. And best of all, to say this quietly, he probably will forget it. So
you don't have to whisper. He's not watching this.
Well,
he whispered so he couldn't hear.
Probably will forget it. Just to keep it down. Don't say anything about it. And we'll all be okay. We'll make it out okay. All right? Thank you, everyone. Okay.
I'm sure this has been pointed out already, but Dukes, why is there a traffic cone?
I mean, you want the story of how I got it?
I
know.
Absolutely.
I just stole it.
Okay. All right.
I just took it. It's not really a story. That was
Well,
the point.
you're on air. Don't admit to this.
We were debating earlier, Chris. The argument was it makes it's there for like. Well, it was like it's there. He won't like bump into things, right? Was what you said, Dukes. What did you say? I forget. And I said,
but
isn't
what
it
if you
more
trip over it?
Yeah, it's more a thing you would actively.
It's bright orange.
But if it's not there, you wouldn't. There's nothing to miss. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but
okay. Like a cone usually
cool.
it's like usually covers something or conceals something.
It's kind of funny though that I have a traffic cone in my room.
Yeah, I mean, depends if you ask, but yeah,
Dude,
you enjoy it.
What size bed do you have?
I don't know.
Not a twin guy.
I don't know.
All right, let's look at it next week before we take it home. Brian and Bandito. What is our excitement level for the American Dragon Brian Danielson opposite Bandito?
10.
Boys? That was a
impeccable
number,
vibes. Whatever.
Very good. Good pivot.
That's what the traffic cone. The traffic cone is a Taz thing because it's orange and black.
Very good. Very, very good. We're excited to see Bandito back on AEW TV. It's been a while, right? It's been a little stretch, hasn't it? It's like since the Ethan match, maybe, which was October, November.
He also wrestled Chris Daniels on Dark.
There you go. My God,
Like
good
2
call.
weeks ago.
Chris Daniels is just like wrestling regularly again now, right? It's from what I can gather.
He's still got the weird eye too. It rules.
Yeah. I mean, I know he was doing stuff in Defy and like he was making dates, but in AEW, he mostly was not wrestling for a while there, right? Yeah. Okay. Darby and Kushida is one of those matches where it's like, didn't know I needed it until it was put in front of me. And now I'm like, fuck, that's going to be incredible.
Yeah.
Darby is so good at selling that sometimes he can like make it too easy for his opponent and will just do all of the bumping and selling. And unless they're like Samoa Joe, it can kind of be one note. This match is exciting because you know it ain't going to be that. This is going to be like back and forth. They're going to work the mat. You're going to, because Darby every once in a while will do that shit where he like just goes crazy with like chain wrestling and they're absolutely going to do that here.
Yeah.
How familiar with Kushida are you, Dukes?
I've seen the famous New Japan match where I think Hiromu beats him in like their short match, and I've seen the final of a tournament, him and Kyle O'Reilly. It was really good.
Yeah. It's Super Juniors. That's awesome. Chris, have you seen much Kushida?
Yeah, not like too much, but a few years ago, I remember a Wrestle Kingdom match with him where he came out with the whole like vest thing. I was like, oh, that's a Back to the Future looking guy. And then I saw some of the NXT stuff. That's it. His
style will pop you, I think. Chris, I think you'll be a big Kushida guy. Assuming he will, it's always with weird TV, but I think you're going to get enough time for him to do his thing. Tope Suicida, how do you feel about this TNT title run thus far with Darby? I know we're a couple weeks in now, but like, it feels like we've already got a good idea of what this is going to be in terms of ideas, right? Like he's gonna try and tear it up with different opponents every week, and obviously they won't all be match of the year classics, which is what the Juice won a minute ago. But how do you feel about this kind of as a continued course correction for the TNT title, Tope?
He is to me the second definitive TNT champion. You can make the argument. To me, it's Brody 1, and then Darby 2. As like when I think of TNT champ, that's what I think of. You can make the argument that either Cody or Miro deserve to be on that list too. But like I love Darby. I think you can put him out there with literally anyone, and he'll have a good match. He has the best me in the game. So I love it.
Dukes, you into this kind of sequel to Darby's famous TNT title run? Again, early days, but I think you can see clearly where we're going here.
Yeah. I don't know how long it's going to last. I feel like Revolution might be the end of it, but we've got a couple weeks to really, kick it into gear.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, actually. Like, Chris, do you think this is the way Darby's defending this belt, the rate he's going to clearly defend it? It feels like one of those cases where it's not going to be a long reign necessarily, but it's going to just be kind of more of what you expect from him with this belt. And I don't think it'll be his last reign by any means either. We think Chris Revolution also?
I don't know, because that sounds right. Like, it doesn't go past Double or Nothing for sure, I don't think.
Yeah.
But I think they're going for like short and memorable, like little,
which I like,
fun matches like that, which is cool. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I can't really get a good read on it.
It feels like Hobbs is the obvious candidate, right? He's, he flirted with the belt before. He's doing the very funny Book of Hobbs thing. And I mean that with all, because I'm sure that there's like great thought gone into it, but the fact that he has an actual book is just funny. It is what it is. I respect it, but it's funny. So I feel like he's the obvious candidate. San Francisco is obviously fast ahead with the pay-per-view week. So he's the name I would circle right now, but it'll be interesting to follow. I'm torn because I love Hobbs and I want him to get like a moment like that. But I also kind of fear it's like making a similar mistake in terms of the archetype the TNT title suits. And I don't know if Hobbs necessarily does, but
I was thinking that's like that's a conversation obviously I guess we'll have more when, if it gets announced. But yeah, that kind of scares me a little bit coming off like the Wardlow thing. Yeah. Differentiating that reign, making it feel, I guess, important. Because like that title, I think for me, I think it works best when it's like a workhorse, like Darby fun match type thing. But then again, like I liked when Miro had it and he was just this dominant guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it's just the way that they present it has to be different to where like the title is at the forefront, kind of.
Yeah, I think Miro and even then Joe, it's like I think they both kind of showed you can do the big man as TNT champion, but you need to put a lot of thought into the character part of it, right? And maybe the Book of Hobbs thing, like all bits aside, maybe that will unlock that for Hobbs. I like Hobbs as a promo. It's just he hasn't obviously got the experience those guys have on TV. So there's only one way he's going to get that experience. So I'm all for them trying it. Obviously, I think we're all big fans. So it'll be interesting. Okay. Willow and Tony.
Yes.
That's an interesting one, right? That's an interesting
Dynamic.
match. Is this a heel turn alert for Tony Storm, which was my instant reaction, or is this, kind of foreshadowing who's next for the belt, regardless of who wins? Like, is Tony going to run it back with Jamie, or are we headed towards Willow and Jamie? Dukes, I just threw a few scenarios there. What was when you saw the graphic? What came to mind?
I just thought this should be a fun match. I didn't even think of a Tony Storm heel turn, which I think could be on the table. With the whole ex WWE thing they're doing.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind either outcome, honestly, for Jamie at the pay-per-view.
Yeah, it'll be very, very interesting. Caught me off guard, I must say. Tope, anything on the Willow Tony match before we look to we wrap up here?
I'm kind of in the same boat as Dukes. It didn't necessarily jump out as like a heel turn warning, but now that you say it definitely wouldn't surprise me. But if I had to guess, I think it would just be a fun match setting up the next contender.
Who would you say is the favorite in that match, Chris? If you'd put some odds on it, Willow and Tony, who would you say? Who's the favorite?
I don't know. I'm saying Tony still.
Yeah.
That's it right now.
I think so. I think you're right.
I agree.
Young Bucks and Top Flight, which will be awesome. I think Top Flight actually probably going to take that one, which is a big deal for them.
I agree.
I think it's going to be the trio. They're going to set up a trios match.
Yeah, with Fox, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. Which is logical because they won the Battle Royal too. I mean, that works on every level. Like, and you get them a tag win here. Fox stays factored in, and he deserves that with his early performances. So I'm all for that. One last question: who wins Daniel Garcia, Action Andretti? That's an interesting one too. Confident Dukes Garcia.
Yeah.
Okay,
because I think there's still going to be like dissension with Garcia in the group still, and I think Garcia beating Andretti and Andretti beating Jericho was like he can like hold it over him kind of.
Okay, that works. Because I could see them doing the thing where it's like this kind of fairy tale story continues. He gets a roll up on Garcia. I don't know, Chris. Who you got, Garcia or Andretti?
I mean, I could see both. I could see that direction with Garcia winning, but I could also see a way where like Andretti wins and then they're like they still kind of are like how did Garcia lose to him, even though like Jericho could be like how'd you lose even though he lost to just being that could cause more issues. And then who knows eventually if like Garcia ends up switching again and going with Ricky or whatever. It could go a lot of ways. I think that's the way you could do it. I think my gut instinct is that Garcia does win though, and they go that direction of like he has something to hold over Jericho. Yeah.
Tope, who you got?
I'll probably go Garcia. I'd say Garcia is probably about a -225 favorite right now. A lot of the sharps are putting money on him. Mattress Mac has a huge bet on Action Andretti though.
Tremendous, beautiful work. All right, boys, there we go. Fleet Week in the books. Young Dukes, anything to plug? Anything to promote? Any final thoughts?
No.
Chris, same question to you.
Tune into Fleet Week Sundays at 5 p.m. the usual time slot.
Factual. We are confident that Tope will make his dates moving forward. Speaking of such, Tope, anything to promote? Anything coming up?
No, I mean, watch Fleet Week.
Okay, a couple of things on my end. Fleet 50. I've almost concluded my work on year-end awards. Almost. We have got a handful of ballots. I'm now and by the way, thank you to everyone who sent those. But like I said, in a couple of weeks, I'll start kind of ramping up. I'm now preparing to do the ramp up. So thanks to everyone who sent them already. But if you were waiting to, the Fleet 50 is happening. I want to reiterate that here. And I'm going to start really locking on that process and promoting it on all the shows we do. So if you wanted to do a ballot, send it over. Those who already have, again, much appreciated. I'm thankful for it. I will respond to the shit in between types. It's been a lot going on. So Fleet 50 is coming, and that's something we'll have some fun with, I'm sure, when we get around to that being a finalized ballot and such. So that, and also I'm about to tweet over at Late Night Grin the Briscoes Grin Grappler lineup, which is a little different. We have Act 1 is 2 tag matches from their first decade, and Act 3 is 2 matches from their last decade here, their second decade, and the middle act is just their matches with each other, including one very famous one with much blood. Historical Oracle, I have not got a date on yet. Grin Grappler will be the 31st of January. Next week there will be a Deciding the Decade, a Rumble preview, and maybe, just maybe, a Grin game night. We shall see. So there is much going on. Speaking of such, has anyone got any comment on that, on Jay Shell's tweet?
That was fucking crazy.
I mean, I kind of dunked her, so.
He did.
I was just shocked.
There was a lot going on.
Appalled.
That's one word, yeah.
It was pretty controversial. That's all I'll say. There was a lot of talk in the locker room about it,
Mm-hmm.
It's what it is. Just be careful, boys, Be careful. It's one thing taking a forearm from Bob O'Neill. Jay Shells, she hits a little harder. You know what I mean? Be careful. Tuck your chins, boys. Hands up. All right, folks, we appreciate you. Hope you enjoyed this. Enjoy this outro. Wow.